If you were to discover a statistical data that contradicts your current position, would that, if that would change your mind, raise your hand. Wade and David.
Yeah, I think so.
And Veronica. Okay.
Maybe not entirely, but I think it would put a dent in my perspective. At least make me reconsider.
I'm having a hard time imagining what data David's imagining. So I'm having a hard time with it.
Type it in the chat, David. I can't see it.
I don't know if I can type it in the chat.
What are we talking about? So I'm here with a bunch of lovely people, lots of beautiful people here. And the reason we're here, well, I don't know why we're here. I mean, I kind of know why we're here, but I also don't know why we're here. And the reason I don't know is because it's hidden. It's blind. If you're looking at the thumbnail, I have a blindfold on, and there's a reason why I have a blindfold on, because I don't know the claim. I don't know what we're going to be talking about. So what that means is we're still going to do street epistemology. We're going to do it as a group. So that means lots of different people here. And I think Group SE has been done a certain kind of way, historically, I guess. And I think that I can do it in a little bit different way, a way that only Pierce, well, not only Pierce, but a way that I can do. And I think I can give it something a little bit to make it work a little bit better. So I think if you're watching this and you've seen other Group SE and you like what you've seen in that Group SE, watch this video and maybe you can use this as an opportunity to see if it can be done even better, perhaps, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But with that being said, you, the viewer, you get to know the claim. I do not. So I'm going to take off my headphones, and Quaid will lead a little discussion about the claim. I'm going to mute myself, so I can't even hear it, even if it's not on my head.
Good? Okay.
Thank you, Quaid.
All right. So our claim for the day will be certain people should be deplatformed based on ideas they've espoused. With deplatformed here meaning prevent a person holding views regarded as unacceptable or offensive from contributing to a forum or debate, especially by blocking them on a particular website. So that is the claim in definition. Anybody want any of that clarified before we start further? I know we already tried to, but just
I'm clear.
Good to go? We good? All right.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody stop talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And let me get my volume back up to where it should be. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
So now the audience.
Oh, there you go. Sorry.
Audience should know the claim now.
Mhm.
Right. Cool. So now, with that being said, I got this fancy little scale, I guess you could say. I'll put you guys down there, and I guess let's move you guys to where your confidence level is. So, Quaid, where would you put yourself on this scale?
I would be on slightly agree.
Slightly agree. Okay, cool. There you go. And Matt, where are you?
Slightly disagree.
Okay. Excellent.
Balance.
And Sushi.
I'm going to go with neutral.
Okay. And Nate?
I'm going to actually go... I was going to say agree, but I'm actually going to go strongly agree. I've reflected a little bit more on it.
Okay. That was quick. David?
I'm going to go strongly disagree.
Okay. And Veronica?
I'm going to go slightly disagree.
And Dolly?
I'm going to stretch it. Normally I'd be with Nate, but just for pretending, absolutely agree.
Oh boy.
All right.
Wow.
He's pretending.
We said that nobody would.
Pretending.
You couldn't get an SC or choose absolutely. I think I can.
Okay. Are you at like? Are you at 100% certainty or like 99.9?
99.6.
99.6. Okay, fair enough.
Is it absolutely then if it's 99.6?
It's absolutely because it's definitional for me. I can give you some unambiguous examples, I think, of the condition whereby I think we could all agree with only hair splitting as anything else.
I'm in great fear that I'm going to end up saying and revealing the claim.
Don't do it.
I don't think you
warning you
will.
guys in advance.
Well, that's why it's pre-recorded, so don't sweat it.
Since I'm not trying to figure it out, I don't think you will because that's
Okay.
not going to be my mindset. So. But with that being said,
Let's go.
we're obviously going to keep the claim hidden, but
Mhm.
also, like, at least for a little while, to keep the reason hidden. And we could probably unhide those at some point, but I like to start out keeping them hidden. So if you guys want to go and take a moment and go into the private chat, and if you want to type out your reason, and I will not be looking at that. And then that's just kind of a way to get you guys to visualize it. Then you can't be changed. Although, if you find you have a better reason, I'd love for you to, change it. But I want to know about it. Same thing with the scale. You guys obviously can't change it on my screen. But if you do at any point want me to switch where you're at, just let me know.
Typing. This is a fun experiment because am I typing how I came to the conclusion, or am I typing what my actual reasoning is?
Run that by me one more time.
So am I talking about how I came to strongly disagree, or am I talking about, or just the reasons I feel that people? Well, I don't know. Maybe
I would say the reason why you are at strongly disagree and not at neutral or another position.
Okay.
Okay. Looks like everybody's done typing. Quade's not. That's okay. Raise your hand if you're completed. Okay. Then I'm going to pick on Sushi first, if you don't mind. Is that all right?
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. So Sushi, you are the only one at neutral.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that a little interesting. So for your reason, okay, that keyboard is really annoying.
Done.
I'm sorry, whoever that is. Please
It was
mute
me.
yourself.
Yeah.
Okay,
I take
continue
responsibility.
typing, but
I'm done.
Please mute. Okay, good. So don't tell me why you are where you're at. I'm not interested at this point. But what I would like to know is why is that reason, method, whatever you might call it, a good reason to be at neutral?
It leaves room for learning and growth. It gives me the availability to look at things from different perspective with minimal amount of bias.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that would be the answer.
Why
to that.
not choose a side?
With without revealing the claim.
Yeah, that it might be rough.
Yeah. I guess I don't have sufficiently strong reason to put me one way or another.
Do you know a way to get you one way or another, or is it kind of like you don't know how to get to that place?
Oh no, I could definitely get one way or another, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
You could,
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
All right. We will move on to another person here. Let's move on to Quaid. What's up, Quaid? You're at slightly agree,
Yep.
and you don't need to tell me why you're at slightly agree, but tell me why that reason is a good reason to be there.
Okay, hold on. Now I'm worried about what Sushi was worried about. So give me a second. Why? Can you say it one more time?
Yeah. So you're at slightly agree. I assume there's some reason that you're there. Why is that reason a good reason?
Yeah, why is it a good reason? Because I think that there's a lot of nuance on this topic. But I think that if we kind of weighed all the instances or cases of this situation or topic, that the position that I'm at would allow people to critically think about the instances where it's not a good thing, but also uh, um, take a stance on issues where it is a good thing and that will benefit society overall. But that's the best way I can put it.
Fair enough. Let's go to Matt. Matt, so you are at slightly disagree.
Yes,
don't Need
sir.
to tell me don't need to tell me the reason like the others. But I assume you have some sort of reason. Why is that a good reason to be at slightly disagree?
I think it's a good reason because it allows for a broader opportunity for discovery. And sort of backpacking off of the old adage, knowledge is power. Does that make sense?
I think so. It almost sounds like you said two contradicting things. You said it allows for a broader opportunity,
For
which is
discovery.
almost for discovery.
Which I guess I'm equating to knowledge.
Okay. Interesting. And if we bounce back to Quaid's, have you seen Quaid's reason in the private chat?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you disagree, or what are your thoughts on it? Let's just put it that way.
I can empathize with the sentiment, and to a certain extent, I think that he's not wrong. I think, like Sushi said, there's quite a bit of nuance here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Quaid, have you seen Matt's reason in the private chat? Oh, you're muted.
Let's see. Yeah. I mean, it's basically what he said, unless he didn't post anything else. So yeah.
And what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think that what he's saying is important and needs to be considered on the topic for sure.
Okay. And with that being said, if you think it's important, why are you at slightly agree instead of his position, which is slightly disagree?
It might just be the way that we came to the conclusion, but to me, I'm thinking of all the instances that I can think of that are examples related to this topic and going with where I think I land on the examples overall. So I'm averaging it, and I don't know if Matt is necessarily doing that. That's my guess, though. I don't know what he's actually doing, or maybe he is doing it, and he has examples where he sees the reverse. That's another possibility.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Oop, wrong button. Veronica. Okay, you're at slightly disagree. Do you have the same reason or as Matt, or a different reason?
I think it's I think I have the same reason.
Okay. And why do you think that it is a good reason?
Because I think the goals outweigh this is difficult. I think it's a good reason because this is more difficult than I imagined.
Is it difficult because you're trying not to reveal the claim? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's we'll put you on the back burner for a moment then.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
No problem. And where's David? There he is. All right, David, you are at strongly disagree. Was your reason the same as Matt or in Veronica's, or is it something new?
I concur with that. I think that is a big part of it, and it's I think it's hard to know for sure otherwise, unless
Excuse me.
it feels as though it's something that could potentially become deregulated, or it could be tried to be regulated in a way that does more harm than good. Wow, this is hard.
Yeah.
All right. And with regards to Quaid, or actually, you know what? Let's actually compare you to Nate. He is the polar opposite. He's at strongly agree. Have you seen Nate's reason?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do you think Nate's reason is a good reason or a bad reason? Or what are your thoughts?
I can consider it a useful thing to consider, like keeping that perspective. But I think that I can still reach the same ends being at my position as opposed to his position.
So you can use that same reason and come to the same conclusion that you've already come to as strongly disagree? Is that what you're saying?
Well, maybe not the same conclusion, but I think we could have similar results if we were to look at some of the goals that I think he and like values that he's exposing here.
Okay. With that being said, let's go to Nate. So Nate, don't have to tell me your reason yet, but why is your reason a good reason?
I have two main reasons. The first one is like a fundamental, like moral or ethical principle that is really important to me, that guides a lot of my decision making. And I think it's a really good fundamental ethical principle. The other one is kind of similar. It's maybe less of a moral principle, but it's still an ethical principle. And I think that those two things play a huge factor in when I consider these sorts of scenarios or circumstances. And I can think of, like, at least I don't want to give away too much of the claim, but the way that it's phrased, I think the bar is very low for me to agree. And and I can think of many ways to get over the bar using these principles.
With regards to the people, not only the people who are here on the stream, or not, we're not streaming, we're recording, but I guess everybody in general in the whole world, could they have your same ethical value or principle and be on the other side? Can they disagree and have that principle?
Yeah.
Why
I
are
think-
you? Why are you in the strongly agree, but not the like strongly disagree? If you can be either or.
Because I think like I'm combining this principle with other supporting facts, or like I said, different scenarios. I was just identifying like my two most important reasons. So there are all these other facts, things that have happened in the past, different situations and scenarios where I think that applying these principles would get somebody to an agree position. And I don't think it takes very many. I think it takes like one or two scenarios. And at least the way that I understand the claim and how it's phrased, like all it takes is one or two to agree.
Okay.
So I
regards
totally
to-
understand like the other reasons that I'm seeing, and I think that those reasons are good reasons in other situations. In many situations, those are great reasons where you would disagree for that particular situation. But the way I understand the claim is that all it takes is a few situations the other way to agree. So that's where I am.
Do you think the folks on the other side of the scale are interpreting the claim differently than you, or are they interpreting it the same?
They might be. It's hard to say. We did a lot of work to clarify the claim, so I think it should be clear though. But they could be interpreting it differently than me anyway.
Okay. Dolly. What's up, Dolly?
Hello there. Ha. So, Nate stole my script. Excellent. Thank you. Exactly the same in that if I only have 1% of the cases where I would, the claim without giving it away is if someone does X, we should do Y. If someone does X and 99% of the time they do X, we should not do Y. But in 1% of the time, we should. Claim is done. That's what I strongly agree, that there are at least some small sliver of examples where the claim is true, and sort of definitionally so, like legally so. Like we wouldn't have any ambiguity that it's legally required that we do Y in some cases of X. So that's where I'm at.
With regards to, I think David, Matt, and Veronica might have had very similar reasons. Why are those for you? Are they not good reasons, or are they good reasons? But
I see. I think Nate and myself, I think, are looking at all you have to have is one example, and we have to agree. And I think in the other cases, they might say the line where we see us choosing, we want to move the other direction, and
gotcha.
There could be a talking past each other in that regard. If you want to say, yeah, we'll accept your examples, but the examples I'm talking about are those that are still ambiguous or controversial.
Well, let's ask him. Matt, do you think that's a good summary of kind of your thought process there, or is he off base?
If I'm understanding him correctly, I think so. And like you were talking about with Nate just a second ago, there might be, I don't know. I guess it's my opinion right now still that the nuance area that we're referencing here is maybe broader than Dali is describing it, but I could be misunderstanding him too. So,
David and Veronica, you have any thoughts? No? Okay. All right. I think it might be valuable to talk about the reasons themselves now, since I think that might be important. I'm going to start with Veronica because we didn't get to talk much because you were too afraid of revealing the claim. Can you reveal the reason without revealing the claim?
My reason without revealing the claim. I'm thinking that we don't have. My reasoning is if the objective is understanding that this provides transparency.
Okay. So if this didn't provide transparency, would you flip flop?
I think so. I think so.
Okay. And why is providing transparency important?
Because truth is important, or exploring ideas is important.
Okay. And for the folks, Quaid, Nate, Dahlia, maybe even Sushi, do you think that this does allow for transparency? I don't know if I'm phrasing that right, but am I phrasing that right, Veronica? No.
Would this be?
So.
I think necessarily there is some loss of transparency.
Okay.
Yeah, I think yeah.
Okay. And Matt and David, did Veronica kind of summarize why you're at where you guys are at, or is it something kind of different?
That's part of it for me.
Part of it. Okay. What's the other part?
I have a short list, but it sort of boils down to heterodoxy sometimes becomes orthodoxy, and without the ability.
Can you explain those?
Oh, orthodoxy is just like what's commonly accepted, I guess, as truth. So heterodoxy would be ideas that challenge that.
Okay.
So without the ability to present heterodoxy, we might rob ourselves of potential discovery, potential knowledge.
Okay. Interesting. What are your thoughts, David?
Yeah, it feels as though when you take the position I'm taking, it allows more for a better understanding of what people are wanting in this, and that I mean, people will find ways to do what they want to do anyways. So this at least has it in a way that it can be interacted and it, come into friction with the rest of the community if there is issues.
Okay.
This is fun trying to not say it.
This is actually really difficult for me. I thought it would be very easy. What could get you to go from strongly disagree to slightly agree?
I think if I saw the if I saw numbers shrink, um, by taking that
So-
position,
So like a statistical data, is that kind of what you're saying?
I think that would change the feeling of confidence. Yeah.
Okay. If this is kind of a group question, you can raise your hand if you agree. If you were to find some statistical data that you currently think the opposite is true for that data, but you discover statistical data that is opposing what you think is the case right now? Or let me rephrase that. Let me start over with that. If you were to discover statistical data that contradicts your current position, would that, if that would change your mind, raise your hand. Wade and David.
Yeah, I think so.
and Veronica. Okay.
Maybe not entirely, but I think it would put a dent in my perspective. At least make me reconsider.
I'm having a hard time imagining what data David's imagining. So I'm
Why
having
don't
a
you
hard time with it.
type it in the chat, David? I can't see it.
I don't know if I can type in the chat.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
All right, that's okay. I'll talk to Quaid. All right, Quaid. This statistical data, if you found it to contradict or not go with your current position, why would that change your confidence?
Because I'm looking for what I can think of right now is two main outcomes. And if statistical data was indicating that this position wasn't resulting in those two main outcomes, then I would no longer be getting those outcomes. So I would want to change position in some way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's dependent on these two possible outcomes.
Yeah, there may be more, just two that I'm thinking of right now.
Okay. If you were to learn that there was more than two, would that change where you are on the scale?
Yeah.
Okay. If you were to find out that there are no outcomes, would that change where you're on the
Yes.
scale? Okay.
Hold on. There are no outcomes.
I don't even know if that applies.
Yeah, it could, but it's going to do one or two things. So I'm not sure which one it would do. Yeah.
Does everybody agree that there's? If you agree, raise your hand. That there's two typical outcomes. I don't know what we're talking about.
You're
Interesting.
muted, Dolly.
I think it's question of the claim is about if someone does X, should we do Y? And in a binary sense, we either do Y or we don't.
There's no in between.
Well, we can do
Very-
Y to a greater or lesser degree, but the claim is not
Mhm.
whether we do it to a greater or lesser degree. It's whether we are appropriate to do it at all.
Okay. Fair enough. All that questioning probably may not have applied. Who was it that raise your hand if the statistical data would not change your mind? If you okay. Sushi and Matt. I'll talk to Sushi since I haven't spoke to you in a while.
Sure.
Why is this the case?
Is ought.
Okay.
Yeah, so like the statistical data would be just that data, but that data could be read many different ways.
Interpretation.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
very much open to interpretation, and then depending on, where you stand, or I guess I'm not revealing it if I say like different worldviews, right?
I don't think so.
No, would greatly change how, or what you would do with that information. Yeah.
Okay.
So like, you could say, you could look at the data and you could say we should do this, but based on, my criteria, and somebody else could say, well, I look at this data and I say we should do the opposite based on that criteria.
Okay. So it's like, if I were to give an example, it might be it. And this is just to make sure I understand. Like, let's say that you learned that 200% more people die in car accidents than you previously had thought. That might not mean we shouldn't drive cars anymore. Is it kind of like that? Is that a similar situation?
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
Okay, great. So, David, we just talked about the statistical data,
Mhm.
and you listened to Sushi,
Mhm.
and he said that it's about interpretation.
Mhm.
What do you think about that? Are you interpreting it in a way that makes it really important? What's your thoughts?
I feel like my position allows for greater checking of interpretation. It allows for less potential for an individual or a small group's bias to influence the interpretation. It puts more of a more hands into more people, or more. It, yeah, those words.
Okay, gotcha. How how could you know if your interpretation? I'm assuming you have an interpretation, right? Am I correct in thinking that?
Yes.
Okay. How could you know if your interpretation was correct or incorrect?
Mm, the odds are I don't know if I can, but
Hmm.
the it seems to me that this has the most room for uh, peer review. So even if I can't get a definite answer on either side, to me this feels like it has more potential for finding any kind of epistemology that might be flawed, um, or even still getting the same point of the people who are on the other side as me, but it puts it in more people. It puts it in more broader
Hmm.
sense.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, talk to Dolly for a moment. Dolly, I think you said this when I asked about the data. Is that what you said?
It's hard for me to imagine a set of data because my conclusion is not based upon like the statistics of how this affects people. My conclusion, where I strongly agree, is based on that I have 1% of examples that are legally mandated. And if I explained those examples, I think I would get very little pushback other than hair splitting as to whether those are good examples where, in fact, we should Y if they do X.
Okay.
So it's kind of odd for me to go, what kind of stats could I learn? Could I learn that the laws are wrong and bad? That's pretty deep. That would take a lot. And
Hmm.
Possible.
it's possible, but it would be a lot of laws all of a sudden. And it's not one small category of laws. It's 3 or 4 categories.
Hmm. Is there ever categories of laws that are bad?
Absolutely. Laws can change, and I love the nuanced discussion of where things that are fixed orthodoxy should be shifted to a better heterodoxy or a better future. still, it would really be hard for me to imagine eliminating all of those categories. Some of those categories, I
Okay.
think I can't see changing in my lifetime, nor would I want them to, from a legal perspective.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you think some people, perhaps years and years and years ago, might have had that same thought about laws that were previously enacted?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think in the Talmud it says in every generation, new evils that are previously undiscovered have to be discovered and eliminated, and we do that constantly. The whole civil rights thing is a big long string of in this decade, here's the ones that we newly accepted, or here's the changes that we made, or which generation, things like that. So yeah,
How could
change
how
over
would
time.
you how would you know that that this, whatever this is, isn't something like that?
Again, with I could lay out several examples, and I'd be happy to move on some of them, and some of them I don't think anybody would want me to move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But how does that affect the ones that are not those examples? I mean, there's still the risk of the ones that are not in that 1%.
Sure.
Running into trouble with that type of perspective.
Absolutely good to talk about the nuance of whether it should fall on this side or that side of the line, whether the law is appropriate, whether the laws are appropriately bound. I'm all into moving those lines around thoughtfully.
Mm-hmm.
Would you think the same if somebody on the opposing side wanted to do this to you using your same reasoning?
Oh, it has. I have.
Okay.
Yeah, it's happened. I don't like it, but it's the natural consequence.
If someone can use that same reasoning and come to a different conclusion, does that mean the reasoning's flawed, or is there a different reason why that has occurred?
I want to say it's the weight, the weight of the values that they're holding in place is the value of doing Y more than not doing Y, and obviously there's costs and there's a cost benefit ratio on both sides, no question.
Okay.
Yeah. I just want to say, like, I think, like, Dolly and I agree that, like, there is a line, and we're saying there is a line. That's what we're saying. And so I feel like in order to disagree, you're saying there's no line. Like, everything is on one side of the line if you disagree. Whereas Dolly and I are saying, no, there's like, even if it's only this much, and only in this, like, a small number of circumstances, there's a line. Does that sound right, Dolly?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah,
agreed.
I mean, somebody who strongly disagrees, maybe David. What do you think about what I said, or some of the things, like, where Dolly and I are about the line?
Well, it's so hard to talk about without talking about it.
Yep.
I invite you to talk about Xing and Ying.
Yeah.
We know what Xing is, and we know what Ying is.
I'm not sure that I actually know. I'm actually not sure that I know what Xing is. But I will say that.
It's in the claim. I'll type it in the chat for you, Quaid.
Xing is doing
Okay.
the thing that gets reacted to by some sort of a policy or automation that performs Y.
So I think I would have to
Okay.
disagree with Nate on if somebody is on the strongly disagree that they're saying that there's no line. I think that the line is just much, much lower for them. And like your line is just at a different spot, right? And like based on which criteria you're applying to could change the view on where that line is.
I guess it could be how I'm interpreting the claim once again, because there's the first word in the claim. If you go to Discord and you look at the claim, that first word in the claim is huge. It makes a huge difference to me. So does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, but that in
yeah.
itself, right? Like when you are reading the claim, you're interpreting it based on your perspectives and views, and somebody could have an interpretation based on their perspective and views, right? So the reason that you might agree or disagree with the claim is based on your perspective and views, and somebody else that has the opposite might come to a separate conclusion that you would totally disagree with.
And I think the line where I'm on the disagree side is because having the line be the way that you're describing it is more focused towards the people versus the the concept of it. It's and that it becomes less able to wrestle with the actual thing.
Yeah, I think the concept is very justifiable though, and I have reasons for that, but I can't. I don't want to say them.
I get you.
So it seems like there's a somewhat of a underlying principle. Is that fair? That everybody has some sort of underlying principle that they're using to come to their confidence?
And I think we probably
Yes.
all share those principles. And like Dolly said, it's a matter of weighting them to a certain extent.
Okay.
And if the claim was phrased differently, I might be neutral. I might even be on the other side.
Join us.
Yeah, see, like
You gotta rewrite the claim first.
Yeah, I was on agree when I originally wrote the claim, but then in the last iteration, I had to change my stance because of the way that I worded it. Otherwise, I would have been on agree or strongly agree. So it kind of the same thing.
So Nate, your particular reason, if somebody were to think that your reason meant something else or did mean something else to them, and you were the one that were affected by it, would you still? I think you're agreeing, right? Would you still agree with it?
Yeah, so like if I got wide, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Like if Y happened to me? Oh, I'd still agree with my position. Yeah. Yeah, because I think that they have the right to Y. I think they should absolutely have the right to Y. That it's like a fundamental right. Fundamental right, at least under our laws. They have the fundamental right to Y, and they have the responsibility to Y. And if I get wide, that's okay.
Okay.
What I'm saying is it disagrees with your why. So like each of you has a different idea of what it means, like your very first reason, right? You straight up disagree with each other on what that means and who is doing that by what means, right? So if they agreed, right, and then based on their criteria for your first reason, it may go totally against what you mean by that. I know it's hard.
By my first reason, yeah, like no, that's what I said.
Yeah.
I would still agree that they should have the right.
Yeah, can I
do that to me? They should totally have the right to do that to me, even if I disagree and I think that they're wrong, and that their reasoning is flawed. They should be able to do that. And if they really truly believe that they are doing a good thing, in their eyes, even if I disagree with them, they should still have the right to do that to me.
Yeah, I wanted to distinguish between, legally should be able to and should. But I think given the answer that you just gave, you could probably answer yes both ways. Whereas I'd
probably say yes both ways. And
yeah.
My second reason. Can I say my second reason? Some people revealed reasons, right? Is that okay, Pierce?
Yeah.
Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
My second reason is responsibility. And responsibility can go to a lot of people. It can go to a lot of stakeholders in a variety of circumstances. And some of these responsibilities are social. Some of these responsibilities are ethical. Some of these responsibilities are financial. And so
I feel like the point of contention is not necessarily like should Y happen at all. But I think that it could be that is Y a first reaction? Is it preemptive or is it reactive?
That's not part of the claim, so I didn't consider any of that.
You're right. Just ignore what I just said.
Yeah, I really tried to make it like when I'm thinking about this, I'm trying to think about just the claim exactly as it's phrased.
Yeah.
So I'm trying not to pull anything else into it. Because if we change the claim, if we stipulated and had like in this scenario, in this scenario, in this scenario, in different scenarios, I might be on disagree.
Yeah, I think that there may be two main general principles going on here on both sides, and the reason that I'm slightly agree is because I place a certain emphasis on both, whereas maybe each side is only thinking about one. I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out. But
at risk of revealing the claim, we're pretty far in here, and I think we've made some progress here. So I think it's worth taking this risk. Do we want to talk about those two different principles?
I can only say what I think they are. I can't say exactly what they are.
Why don't you say what you think they are, and we'll see who agrees.
X. We want more X most of the time. I think I would agree that we want more X, and there's a lot of X that's not happening out of fear of Y. So we would like less Y. I can agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So that would put me on the opposite side.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that too. I can agree with that too. So there's many times where Y happens when it shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean we should never Y.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
David and Matt, do you agree with what Dolly said?
Well, I mean, I feel like that just kind of bolsters my position that it's more of a net positive to be in my position overall.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, and my position is like 99% of the time, I think we shouldn't Y. Maybe more than 99% of the time.
But you're going with certain.
Yeah, certain just means any amount.
Situations.
1, 2, 3 situations. That's some. So, in certain situations, like I said, it's a low. I think it's a very low bar for me. If we rephrase the claim, I might be somewhere totally different. But to me, it's a very low bar, and I think that we need to have the freedom to Y. I think that we, them, they. I think that that's an important freedom, and that gives us actually more freedom and flexibility. If we say can never Y, our hands are tied. Now, if things get bad, we're stuck. We're screwed. You know.
I mean, are there alternatives to Y that could solve the problem?
Oh, I would love it. I would love it if there were. Yes, that could change my mind. Alternatives to Y. If there was a different way to do, other than there are alternatives to Y that in these certain circumstances were actually proven to be better, that would support my fundamental principles, then I would love to do those instead of Y. That'd be great.
Yeah, there are most certainly other Ys. There are other things that you could do. They just I'm not convinced they would be as effective as some of the things we're trying to accomplish.
And in many circumstances, those other Ys are great. Those Z's, those Z's are fantastic, and those should be maybe first steps, second steps, third steps, and we should only Y once we've all exhausted all the Z's.
Yeah.
Whenever someone has said like we should Y or someone should Y someone, I'm just in my mind I'm replacing it with the letter F, and it's just made this very interesting.
Sometimes Ying someone is effing them. So
Yeah, that is. It's true. Now I want to know, like, before, if we end up revealing this, I'm interested. We should have Pierce say what he thinks it is first.
Yeah, I'd be really curious.
Definitely.
Maybe not now, but just whenever.
I
think people Y people because X could be effing people.
Yes,
Could be an SU.
Yes, absolutely. That is
Absolutely.
it. You're on it. Yep, that's down the. Yep.
All right. I want to hear what he thinks it is. Any votes against it?
I don't.
You don't want to hear what he thinks it is?
No, I mean I don't. I proposed it, so obviously I'm for it.
Yeah.
Should we consider it a wrap at this point? And should I take wild guesses?
Yes.
I mean, your call, Pierce. Whatever you want to do. If there are more
Whatever
questions you
you
want to
want,
ask
Pierce.
us first, then
Well, before I take guesses, do you think it's within possibility that you could reveal what this underlying principle without me actually knowing what it is?
yeah,
Oh,
Is that possible?
I think I think one underlying principle is harm and harm reduction.
Mhm.
Would you guys agree with that?
It's
On
a
one side?
balancing of.
And
yeah.
the other one is some type of freedom, probably
Mhm.
freedom
one, yeah.
and or like freedom of
Discovery.
I don't.
Really.
Yeah.
I think that
Discovery's the
relates
third
to
one, I
harm,
think.
though. Yeah, I think that relates to harm, though. I would say that it's intolerance and misinformation versus open communication, freedom of speech.
Oh, see, now we gave it away.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Uh,
yeah. I guess that could still be in the.
Yeah.
Never mind. I shouldn't have said that. My bad.
Rewind the tape.
The jury will not be required to disregard.
I wanted the silliest. I wanted the silliest answers, and now we're not going to get them from Pierce. Damn it.
Pierce,
He still might be confused.
maybe before you guess, maybe it's a good opportunity to let people move if they want to move.
Yeah. Does anybody want
Great
to
idea,
move?
Nate. I'm just going to move over to strongly disagree. I absolutely disagree.
Oh.
That's just
All right.
just
All
commit.
right.
Mhm.
Boom, that's a success. I'm counting that as a success.
Well, I was hoping I would. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still there.
I'm going to move you down a little bit.
Whatever.
Maybe I should go to absolutely agree. No, I'm sticking with it.
I think I'm going to move to agree. Actually, and Veronica,
no.
you probably didn't want to do this, but you're the one that convinced me.
I think
David,
think I will-
did I move you in the right direction, David?
Yeah, you sure did.
Okay, I did.
Look at this absoluteness. Oh, this is ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think
that's not why we put that category, by the way.
I-
People.
yeah,
The point was
right?
so that no one would choose it.
supposed to be a
Fail.
better example.
There's
of
a
a
fail.
Bunch of rule breakers.
Yeah, I think I'm still on strongly agree, but I think that I am more flexible to move either direction, and I now have a marker to move in the direction of disagree. I don't even remember who said it, but said something about if we had a Z that was better at doing what you want than Y,
Come to the dark side.
then if I was presented with a variety of Z's and I was convinced that Z's were better at achieving my goals, then I would move. But also at the same time, I feel like I'm even more staunch in my opinion that the way that the claim is phrased, I should even be closer to Dolly. But that's that's like a linguistic argument, and I think I don't know. So I'm gonna stay where I am.
That's why I can absolutely disagree.
But the problem is that's based on the assumption that we agreed what we should do, right? Or what the goal is.
Yeah, what are the goals? That's the main thing. Like, what are
Yes. That's
we
why
may
I'm
have
neutral
different
because
goals.
yes. And that's what I was getting at with Nate and his harm reduction, because somebody else could have an entirely different goal, and that means they would have different shoulds, right?
Oh, they have a different goal. I thought you meant they had the same goal as me. I just
No.
interpreted the
No.
facts differently.
If
Yeah,
the
no,
goal
and-
is to stay in
That's
business,
possible too.
they have
Yeah.
to follow the law.
Yeah, so somebody could have an entirely different goal, which you would say is like, no, they're definitely doing way, way, way more harm. Like it's destroying society. But, they could use your exact same reasoning to come to that conclusion. I mean,
like
that's
freedom, like freedom and responsibility.
Yeah. Like what,
Yeah.
like because that's up for interpretation on what they think that is based on their goal.
Yeah, which that's life. Like we
Yep.
live with different people who have different like perspectives and different goals and different
Mhm.
frames of mind, and we all have to live together. And I think that giving people the freedom to do that is important. So, like, it's kind of funny. Freedom is like an example to be on the disagree, but at the same time, to me, like freedom, the freedom to why is important to me too. And so I think even the people who disagree with me and maybe have different goals than me, I still would want to afford them that freedom. I wouldn't want to step in and say, no, you're not allowed to ever why. and especially not like through the government. So, yeah, I see where you're coming from, and like, yeah, I like that would suck, and I wouldn't like it, right? I wouldn't like to be
Yeah.
wide, but I think they should have the right to do that.
I'd kind of like it.
Yeah, I could become a grifter then. I could make lots of money.
Yeah, and I guess the other issue then is like if this does go into place, like what is that particular line, right? Because like still even like you say, oh, okay, I would be okay with that, but then they could take it to like a greater group, right? Maybe it's not as refined or as extreme as you think that it might resolve an issue for, but
Yeah.
it could actually be a much larger category.
Say if it's in place, it's to me it already is in place. It's in place everywhere, almost everywhere, and in different places they have different lines.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that's I'm fine with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
like
I agree with you that it's in place. Yeah, it's just a matter of like if we should or shouldn't do that. And like utilizing the reasoning, you could really justify anything based on the goal.
When you say we should, who do you mean by we?
I mean, whatever perspective you want to put in there.
Whoever's making the claim.
Because I don't see the we as monolithic. I guess like I'm imagining like hundreds or thousands of we's.
It could be we individual, or it could be we like as a group, right?
We as a group
Yeah.
managed to why
Band name.
several people quite effectively.
Mhm.
I don't mean we in the room. I mean, how about we as the queer community? Oh, maybe that's the me we.
All right. Before I start taking wild guesses, because I think we might have come to a natural conclusion here, which I will take wild guesses. How did this go? Did I do well? I don't even know how I did, really.
I think you did really well. I think that's my personal opinion, but compared to some of the other Spectrum SE out there, I think this was pretty solid, in my opinion.
I think you were inquisitive. I think you tried to ask questions. You were trying to understand. I mean, in that aspect, it's a win for me.
And you made us focus on the reasons. Like you didn't bait us into just saying
It's changed my perspective of SE or SSE or Spectrum SE, like having it done, because it's definitely interesting. It's definitely not SE. It's Spectrum SE. It's something different, but I think it allows kind of the best of both worlds between like a debate and an SE, because it allows people to have the discussion and fill in the gaps that like SE alone doesn't.
Yeah, but you're actually focused on reasons and quality of reasons. And I liked, Pierce, how you actually skipped the reasons, went straight to the quality of reasons. I thought that was cool.
Why is that a good reason? Yeah.
Yeah,
It was really hard without revealing the claim, though.
Yeah, it's hard to not reveal the reason and the claim.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask 2 polls. Raise your hand as high in the screen or as low as you like. Higher if you think you understood the perspectives of everybody else in the room moderately well. Okay. So that's generally well above average. Next, the other question is, have any of you come to dislike anybody in the room at all? If you dislike somebody, put your hand way low. If you like somebody or like them more, then put your hand up high.
So if you like them more, you put your hand up high.
So if I still like everybody just as much, do I keep it in the middle?
Yeah, you're good. You're good, because that means
like,
we achieved communication and rapport. We're done. Good
Yeah,
job, Pierce. You made it happen.
Didn't make me hate anyone.
Sweet.
I am on slightly agree, by the way. I gotta change it again.
What?
Sweet.
Yeah, sorry. Yep, slightly agree.
Wait, no, you're going back. That's where you were
Yeah.
before.
Yeah,
thought
that's
it
Okay,
right.
good. Yes, yes.
Oh, man.
I'm less excited now.
What made you move, Quaid?
I think the last thing somebody said.
I'm sure it was somebody.
Once we talk about it, I'll say. But I think it was Sushi. I think Sushi and Nate. Something Sushi said. I don't think he said it directly, but it made me think about it more.
All right,
Yeah, what,
I'll take
Pierce?
some wild guesses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it people should have the freedom to cancel people?
Pretty close.
Close
Basically,
enough.
yeah.
Yeah, close enough.
Essentially.
Yep.
Well,
Okay.
that's close. No, it's not
Yeah,
it. Keep guessing.
Yeah, that isn't it.
That isn't it. Keep
But
guessing.
It isn't, but it's close.
It's the well, based
Hot, you're
on
hotter.
your
You're warm.
I had to
Yeah.
think about it.
based
For a
on
Only
your
second.
figured-
view that it definitely could be interpreted exactly that way,
Yep.
Yeah.
right? Because there's
That's one of the
definitely people
issues.
that would say it is exactly that. Yeah.
I think it's
For
a,
us-
Strongly
a Venn
disagree.
diagram. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the outermost circle. So this is something with inside, I think, a bigger circle. Is that fair to say? Or is that off?
Yeah,
No, I think
okay.
this is all
Totally different circle.
lines, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
just
like
in all
based on your
fairness-
perspective, you're saying it's a smaller circle, but somebody else would disagree with you and say that no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
yeah,
What's your definition of circle?
Yes.
So in
I
the
have-
original terms, X was espousing a view in public, and Y was being deplatformed or canceled or blocked from espousing that view specifically because of the view. So a person gets canceled because of an idea they say.
Mhm.
And then my examples would be if I incite to violence, y'all are required to shut me down. If I strip down and start dancing, you are required to shut my camera off if you're going to put this on YouTube. Something like that. There are rules in the law that we don't fight back about, where you get deplatformed immediately on the expression of some ideas.
Yeah. Just to, I guess, say it as we read it, certain people should be deplatformed based on ideas they've espoused, with deplatforming meaning prevent a person holding views regarding an unacceptable views regarded as unacceptable or offensive from contributing to a forum or debate, especially by blocking them on a particular website.
I originally was on agree, and then I thought about how I left Twitter a few weeks ago when Alex Jones was let back on the platform, and I realized I don't agree. I actually strongly agree. I strongly agreed enough that I'm not on Twitter. Because I think Alex Jones being platformed is extremely harmful. He has like directly tried to or has ruined many people's lives. I think of the Sandy Hook parents. And I cannot see how in good conscience, any platform could allow him to continue to spread his lies that are like factually damaging and harming other people, like in dramatic ways. So
Yeah, and that's
like that's one example, and that's all I need to get over the bar. The way it's phrased, that's how I felt about it.
And that's why I originally changed, because when Veronica said X F's people too, and that was the disagreement, my thought was, okay, I actually do think X F's more people than Y does, generally speaking. So that's originally why I went to agree from slightly agree.
But transparency, people should be able to say things, and then you should be able to challenge them and discuss it. And so just deplatforming them disallows any discussion about it and any further discovery, or
And
Yeah,
that's
I'm
why I
currently-
went to slightly
yeah.
agree.
I'm currently under the operating the idea that, if Alex Jones isn't on YouTube, he will have a smaller reach. He will reach less people, and he will influence less people, and he will do less harm. And if that's false, then I would change my mind.
He's got a huge reach right now through other platforms too.
Yeah, he still has too big of a reach for my comfort. Yeah, and so I could be wrong about that. I'm open to being wrong about that. So I'm
Is there a
not
potential of a
absolutely-
background of like a backfire effect at which the deplatforming makes more radicalized views more radicalized?
It allows
Yeah.
him to say I'm being canceled to get more, and she's like, oh, you are being canceled. And then people.
Yeah,
Oh, are you, David, are you saying that if they're canceled here, they're going to go over here and then it's going to be even more nefarious because like an echo chamber of negativity?
Yeah, they've been othered. They have an enemy now. They have they're hidden and they're just bolstering and they start to echo chamber.
Yeah. Okay. See that? Yeah, that's
possible.
one of the reasons that I'm like, let's leave it out in the open and let everybody discuss it.
Yeah, and I could definitely be persuaded to, like, if I thought that did lead to more harm, right? Like, the harm reduction and the responsibility are my main thing. So, like, if I thought that the underlying facts about what happens when somebody is deplatformed, if the outcomes were different, then that would change my mind. I don't know. I don't know if there's been studies on that or like, and the differences between, a YouTube, platform where you're possibly seeing, I remember, oh gosh, when was this? This was 6 years ago, maybe. All of a sudden, all my little freshman boys were started talking about Alex Jones. Now, oh, what's your favorite conspiracy theory, Mr. Hartman? Oh, have you ever watched Alex Jones? And it was just like all of these kids were talking about this guy. And so maybe that's part of my perspective is like, I know the kind of like very vulnerable and like moldable minds that are being reached by these people, I guess. And I see it every day. I'm not under any illusion that the only people watching Alex Jones are adults who are, have fully formed functional prefrontal cortexes, I guess.
That's a good point.
I guess my issue is like what is meant by harm, right?
Physical or mental harm, and is in my view, physical or mental.
And that part at the end there, in my view, right? But anybody could use their own definition of harm for any of this, right? So like the Alex Jones example, like we might say that, that is, he does harm by being able to have a platform. But somebody that agrees with him wouldn't agree with that statement, would say that he's not doing any harm, right? And may it actually say that you're the one that's doing the harm by removing him or by not allowing him to spread his word.
Yeah, and that's why I left Twitter.
Yeah.
That's fine. Elon Musk owns Twitter and he has the right to let Alex Jones back on. He has the legal right to do that. He has the legal right to block him tomorrow. And I have the legal right to leave, to not support Twitter,
Yeah, another thing here too, because we've talked about this a little bit, is like, if like hitting someone in the head with a baseball bat, right, is harmful, right? If somebody comes along and they say, well, I actually don't think it's harmful, I'm gonna be like, I kind of don't care, like it,
right?
Like at some point you start to like stretch credulity with what is or isn't really harmful. I agree that there's a lot more nuance, especially given that we're talking about morality here, but sometimes it's just like, I'm not going to play naive because you have a different perspective. Yeah. Something like that.
Defamation is one of my more unambiguous examples.
Do you have specific ones on that? Is there something about defamation?
Sure. We find defamation in law, and we find harm, and we are able to have a jury even put numbers on that harm and punitive things to keep the harm from recurring, and so on. So as a society, we seem to be okay with the limitation of free speech, meaning don't defame lest you get sucked into a civil case and get deplatformed by big verdicts.
Deplatformed of your money.
Darn Putin. Couldn't happen to a nicer Trump.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't seem to matter either, right? Sorry. I was going to bring up Alex Jones again because it doesn't matter to him, right? He took that financial hit and somehow is still rolling along just fine.
Mind blowing.
Yeah.
Just tells me the first wasn't enough.
Anyone have any final remarks before I end the recording here?